Hello, everyone. Good morning or good afternoon, just depending on where you are located. Thank you so much for taking time out of your busy day to join us for a live tour of the NovoEd's collaborative learning platform. We really appreciate you taking the time to be with us this morning. Before we get started, I just want to take a brief moment here to give you an overview of GoToWebinar in case anyone is unfamiliar with the platform. Please note that you are all on mute. You can use your control panel as shown here on the right-hand side of the slide to submit questions at any time during this product tour. We will be responding to questions as they come in, and then we'll also be stopping a couple times to address any questions that have come in, so please ask away. At the end of this webinar, an exit survey will pop up. If you could please take a few moments to fill out the survey and provide us with some feedback, so that we can continue to improve our webinar program, that'd be greatly appreciated. Lastly, I do just want to mention that we are recording this webinar, and you will receive the recording via email tomorrow morning, so please just keep an eye out for that. I'd like to take a moment to introduce both myself and my colleague Juan. My name is Jessica, and I'm the marketing manager here at NovoEd, and I'm joined by our solutions consultant, Juan Moran. Currently, Juan serves as, hello Juan, welcome and thank you for being here. Currently, Juan serves as an expert and evangelist on using the NovoEd platform and will be here to demo our capabilities and technology to help you create a high impact learning experience. We're both very excited to be here with you. For today's agenda, we will begin with an overview of NovoEd and our platform features before diving into a demo of the platform, which will be led by Juan. At the end, as well as along the way, we are going to be pausing for questions. So again, if you have anything, any burning questions, please send them our way. We would love to make this as collaborative and interactive as possible. For anyone who is unfamiliar with NovoEd, NovoEd's collaborative learning platform empowers organizations to design and deliver experiential learning that accelerates business performance on a global scale. Since the company's founding at Stanford's Social Algorithms Laboratory in 2012, global corporations, executive education providers, and training firms have relied on NovoEd to develop high-value capabilities through purposeful practice and application, coaching and mentorship, and group collaboration. NovoEd's proven approach to learning really connects diverse groups of learners, mentors, and leaders in a high-impact online environment, unlocking your organization's collective knowledge and driving measurable outcomes. In 2018, we were actually acquired by Fidelity as part of their EdTech strategy. Some customers we work with include Kraft Heinz, IDEO, Comcast, and Stanford, as you can see on this slide. Before we dive deeper, I'm just going to pause right here to launch a quick poll. We'd love to hear from all of you. So you should see something pop up on your screen asking you which types of in-person training is your organization prioritizing moving online. We'll keep this open for about 30 to 45 seconds. If you could please select an answer, maybe multiple answers to help us guide this conversation, that would be most helpful. Thank you. Thank you to everyone who has voted. I'll keep it open for about 10, 15 seconds. I still see a couple of people answering, so thank you so much. Great, I will go ahead and close the poll and then share the results with you all. So this is really in line with what we've been seeing and the conversations that we've been having with a lot of different organizations. Leadership training right now seems to be very crucial, understandably so, and a lot of organizations are prioritizing to move that online. Innovation and change training is something that we've also been seeing a lot of, as well as onboarding and compliance. I would say other types of training that we've been seeing are sales enablement and also some diversity and inclusion training. If you happen to mark other, please go ahead and let us know what we may have missed on this slide, and we'll definitely use this data to help us tailor this presentation to everyone's needs here. So thank you again for providing us with your poll results. To provide you with more information on NovoEd, our platform is optimized for collaborative learning, which is a practice that's essential for facilitating behavior change. We have found that learning together results in greater impact and productivity, fosters more diverse and supportive professional relationships, and also creates a sense of belonging. Most importantly, collaboration actively engages learners, promoting accountability, strengthening and sustaining learning, and fostering a very dynamic learning culture. NovoEd enables peer learning and feedback between colleagues, mentors, and managers, and around relevant content, creating context in communities. This is something that Juan will dive deeper into on our demo. These modern learning experiences are proven to be more effective in fueling organizational transformation at scale than any other type of learning and development program. Through collaborative capabilities, as well as practice and application, we help you deliver powerful, engaging learning experiences that really address your most prevalent organizational challenges and facilitate behavior change. Some use cases for our platform include digital transformation, leadership development, like I mentioned, functional upskilling, D&I, and employee onboarding. And while it is not shown here, we do partner with a lot of organizations for sales enablement, as well as innovation and design thinking as well. Now, there are a lot of learning technology solutions out there, and I just want to give you a sense of where we fit into the learning ecosystem. What you're seeing on the screen is a version of Josh Burson's technology stack. This may look somewhat familiar to you. And NovoEd is focused squarely on delivering high-impact learning experiences that really bring people together to collaborate on learning. We can integrate into other parts of your ecosystem. The NovoEd learning experiences can be accessed through your LMS or your LXP, and you can bring in existing content and various learning objects that you've built internally or have access to through content subscriptions. And we'll get deeper into that within the demo. So with that said, I'm actually going to turn it over to my colleague Juan, who is going to actually walk you through the NovoEd Collaborative Learning Platform.
Sounds great. Let me share my screen, and you should see my dashboard for a learner named Leah Tan. Hi, everyone. This is Juan. I'm going to be providing you a high-level overview of our NovoEd platform today from 3 different perspectives. We'll take a look at what it's like to be a learner, be able to engage in those use cases that Jessica just described, the really high value type of learning experiences that are usually reserved for in-person workshops in classrooms, things like leadership development. I'm not surprised to see in the poll that a lot of you said you're focused on finding a solution to help support you in that area. We're going to take a look actually at Leah's experience as a learner in a leadership development learning program. Now, she's going to be participating with a cohort and also getting a lot of support. So we're going to be also showing you the mentor experience. So you're going to be able to see how someone could coach a learner, and that could be a facilitator, a subject matter expert, a fellow peer maybe who's more senior, or a manager looking after direct reports. So you'll see exactly how those mentors can track learners, see exactly where they need help, and then deliver that support. And then thirdly, I'm going to show you a little bit of the administrator experience, especially to take a look at analytics and authoring tools. We get asked all the time from prospects and customers, how can we better track not just our learners' progress, but the impact others are having, the mentors and facilitators, for example, as well as making connections to how that's making an impact to the business as well. So let's start off with that learner experience. As Jessica mentioned, we're going to take a few breaks so you can ask some questions. So please don't be shy. Now, what you're seeing right now on the screen is Leah's learner dashboard. This is the very first thing you see when you come into our platform. It's like your home base for everything you do on NovoEd. You get updates about things that are happening right now in your learning program. So for instance, Leah is taking, she's enrolled in a learning program called Leading Virtual Teams. So here is an alert that a live webinar has already started, and so she can join that now. We actually have an integration with Zoom, but we have customers using WebEx, GoToMeeting, like we're using for this webinar right now, a variety of other meeting and webinar tools, so they can provide a blended learning experience with our platform. Now, you'll see also that Leah can get updates about things that are happening in her own personal learning experience. So she could see, for example, wherever she left off, the last time she was logged in, either through a browser like this on a computer or a phone or tablet, or our mobile app that's available now for iPhones and Android phones. Now, she also gets to see every learning program she's enrolled in here, so she can have quick access to those learning journeys. So she's enrolled in a few programs on leadership development, as we talked about. Also, innovation. This is a design thinking program that she's enrolled in. So interesting to see a lot of you are looking for a way to support that. One of our customers is IDEO, the training firm. They are providing their customers, this is actually B2C. You can go to their website at IDEOU and see their course catalog. All those design thinking courses are powered by the NovoEd platform. And a lot of other customers are supporting design thinking as well on our platform. And then I would say onboarding is also a very popular use case for us. It's probably the second most popular after leadership development amongst our current customers. And by the way, our customers include corporations that are doing corporate learning, executive education programs at universities and colleges, also training firms that are doing external training, and we also work with a lot of nonprofits working on social impact. What they need is a collaborative learning platform that will enable them to get learners together, be able to build relationships, network, be able to give each other feedback and collaborate, and do that in an applicable way. They can actually practice what they're doing. Now, I'm going to show you some of that experience for Leah here as a learner. On the left side of the screen, you'll notice that she has access to things like the ability to change her language. A lot of our customers are global organizations, so they love that we support 10 different languages today, including Spanish, Portuguese, Chinese, Japanese, Korean, Russian, German, and Arabic, in addition to English. And we also give flexibility for how your learners want to be up to date on what's happening with their learner journey. So they can get email notifications. And as administrators or facilitators, you can even send targeted emails to your learners too. Maybe you just want an email and internal message here, a direct message on the NovoEd platform to just nudge learners who haven't completed a specific assignment, for example. Learners like Leah, they're going to be able to access those notifications right here on our platform, as well as through push notifications on our mobile app. These notifications can also be automated and actionable. So for instance, Leah's received invitations to join a team, as well as to take part in a live meeting to talk about a team project. So she gets alerts about those, and she could just tap or click on those alerts to be able to go wherever the action happened and be able to close the loop, like accept a meeting invite or respond to a comment in a discussion, for example. Now, Leah also has access to every single course, program, learning journey that she utilizes on our platform. You can use your own terminology, by the way, on our platform. You can even have it be different for different programs and courses. She also has access to every team and group that she might be a part of as well. So we'll take a look at exactly what is it like to engage in a team through something like a team assignment, but also see groups that could support things like interests, affinity groups, for example. Maybe you want people in the same region or in the same vertical or with the same goals, or even just hobbies or general interests, like maybe they're all dog lovers and you want to enable them to have something to share and build that community. We enable you to be able to do that with our platform. Now let me show you an example of what I mean by delivering this type of collaborative, interactive learning experience on the NovoEd platform. Now, we're in one learning program that Leah's enrolled in as a learner. She's, as I mentioned, taking part in a leadership development program, and this one's focused on leading virtual teams. Now, she was recently promoted, And she's actually taking part in this learning program with a cohort of peers that were also recently promoted to a management role. What they're going to be doing here is not only learning how to become better managers and working together to do that, but they're also going to be adjusting to working more virtually because of COVID-19. Leah and her peers are all working remotely. So that's another adjustment they're going to be making. Now, we enable them to do it as a community. So you'll notice on the right side of the screen, there is a social community panel. And this is where learners like Leah can see who's been active. Everyone has a profile. We enable you to even configure each profile differently based on the specific learning program or course you want to offer. And they're easy to set up. You'll notice that we have integrations with Facebook and LinkedIn. So very simple to just pull in your information, even your photograph from one of those social networks. And the types of things you can include here, when I say you can configure these, for different programs, is information you want people to show, like biographical information. Maybe also you might want to ask some survey questions about, what expertise are they bringing to the learning journey? What are their goals for what they want to accomplish once they've completed and received their certificate, for example. Now, in the social community panel, we can also see things like what's trending, like discussions that have gotten a lot of replies or likes. We can see suggestions for things to explore, like those affinity groups I mentioned. So it's a really easy way to stay up to date on what's happening with your learning community. In the center of the screen here, you'll notice we have a couple different progress bars. This is an easy way to stay up to date on your progress as a learner. And others get to see these progress bars too, like facilitators and mentors, so they can work together to help the learner complete the program and, of course, make an impact to their careers, the business, whatever that use case is that we're here to support you with. What we've done is provided a really fun, engaging environment as well for learners. You'll notice that Leah can see how many points she's earned. She has 10 points, and she's on her way to earning 110 points to completing this particular learning program. So there is gamification here to keep her engaged. So, for instance, you can enable a leaderboard and have your learners be able to see where they rank amongst other learners in their cohort. It's just a friendly competition and one strategy you can use to keep your learners motivated and to keep coming back into the program. Now, there are different ways we can track learning. You don't even have to use points. We also support to-dos. And really, the to-dos can be almost anything. Some things are automatically to-dos, like assignments, but you can make completing a survey to-do. For example, Forrester is one of our clients. They're a big training firm. They do multiple surveys over the course of a learning program because they want to collect feedback on an ongoing basis from learners. So they'll ask things like, how are things going with your team, for example? And if things aren't going as well as they could be, they might move a learner to another team, for instance. You'll notice in Leah's leadership development program here, she has to complete to-dos like watch a video. We actually track those and report on those views. She also has to take part in challenges as an individual learner, but also as part of a team, and participate in discussions as well. Now, her actual journey here is composed of some modules, but the way this looks and feels is really up to you. Now, you can absolutely take your current structure of like week 1, week 2, unit 1, unit 2, and set that up here. We make it really easy to not just transition from another learning platform, but even from a purely face-to-face learning program where going online is something new for you. We've actually been talking to a lot of organizations about doing that. What we've done here is make it just really easy to be able to provide a very engaging learning experience despite it not being in person. And we can also help you set very clear expectations for your learners as well. You'll notice for every lesson we can specify how many minutes or hours of work or reading or watching videos you have to do when you're in here. So that's one way we can make sure learners are aware of what they have to do to complete their learning journey. And we make sure they're never lost too. We just went into the first module of Leah's program here. On the left side, there's a program outline, so Leah knows exactly where she is and How she navigates through the learning journey is also up to your designers. It's really flexible, actually. You can make everything available. You could also make it a very linear, sequential learning experience. You can release content, including lesson pages, according to specific dates and times, or set up triggers that are based on your learners' behavior. For example, maybe they have to complete certain assignments before they can get access to the following module. Maybe you have to do, maybe you're going to do a review to make sure they're ready to move to that next stage, for example. Now, the type of content and activities you can include here are also very, very, very flexible, and we do support a variety of different formats. So, for example, you see a video here. We do have clients using SCORM. Stanford Graduate School of Business uses it quite a bit. Other clients are using external third-party content, like Perkin-Elmer uses LinkedIn Learning quite a bit. Comcast uses Harvard Managed Mentor. And then we have customers that are also creating their own content and things like Articulate, Storyline, and Adobe Captivate. And they can absolutely load all that content here and make it all available inline. It's very easy to access. Here's an example of a video that we've loaded. It's actually required viewing. Leah's going to earn 10 points for not just completing this, completing viewing this video, but also completing an embedded quiz. So you'll notice that the video just automatically paused and asked Leah a question. You could do that to survey your learners and see where they're at. Leah can respond to a question about whether she's ever worked remotely before, for example. Now you can also assess your learners too, and you can actually ask quiz questions, embed knowledge checks, for example, and award points or check off to-dos when learners complete those things. Now, in addition to supporting a wide variety of content, we also make sure that that content is placed into context within your learning journey. So you'll notice immediately following that video, we have a discussion. There is a central discussion board area where you can see every discussion. You can even filter for what's popular, what's most recent. But we really want to enable you as you're designing these learning experiences to make sure things are placed into context. So, you watch the video as a learner. Now you're going to apply what you learned from that video in discussion with your peers. And you can even give your peers feedback here. You can upvote things they've said. You can reply to them as well. You can even call them out or call out others and mention them in your messages too. Janice is going to get notified that Leah specifically responded to something that she said within this discussion, for example. And maybe she'll say like, hey, I agree with what you said. And I'm going to add that I think that because we're talking about the difference between working from home and working remotely, and she's going to say work-life balance is important too, and submit that. And there's that gamification I mentioned earlier. She just leveled up and earned 10 points for participating in that discussion. Now, I've been talking a lot about Leah learning with peers as part of a cohort. We do have customers that are doing self-paced learning as well. And sometimes there's not even someone facilitating or mentoring those learners. So for example, Kraft Heinz, they do a lot of onboarding on our platform. So new hires come in, they go into this one onboarding program they've set up on our platform. There's no end date. Learners may go in there and be by themselves, because maybe no one else got hired around the same time. But we make sure that they still have an engaging experience and can even get automated feedback. So you'll notice that Leah here has already submitted a quiz, and she can not only see what she got right and wrong, but she can actually see explanations for specifically why was a quiz answer right or wrong. So even when there's no one here facilitating, you can still provide very specific and relevant and timely feedback to your learners. Now, that's one way we can enable learners to practice what they're doing and apply it in a relevant work context, or maybe they're preparing for a new career. Maybe they're participating in a training program from a training firm or an executive ed program at a university. Here's where learners can engage in an individual assignment. We've set it up as a challenge. This one's a video assignment. It's these are really popular on our platform. A lot of our customers are using them for onboarding, like practice our value proposition and speaking to that, or for sales enablement, practice your sales pitch, for instance. In this example for leadership development, Leah's got a recorded video practicing leading a meeting. Now she can use whatever video recording software she likes and just maybe drag and drop an MP4 file here, for instance. But you can also utilize our mobile app. And I love to show this because it's a big differentiator in the marketplace for us. Not every learning platform has a mobile app. And as you probably guessed, we work a lot with adult learners, and professionals are often on their smartphones, so we want to meet them where they are. And there are a lot of additional benefits you would get from a mobile app that you wouldn't from a mobile browser, on your iPhone or Android device or iPad or tablet. For instance, you get push notifications. So here's that reminder about the upcoming webinar, for instance. There's also the ability to access offline content. So even when you don't have phone carrier service or a Wi-Fi connection, you could still make progress in your learning journey. You can download content and access it even when you're in airplane mode. And you can actually get the work done right from your mobile app as well. I mentioned that our platform always remembers where you left off as a learner. So that's why we're seeing the individual challenge, the kickoff call video assignment being highlighted here. And as a learner now, Leah is on a device that has a camera and a microphone. So she can actually just record her video assignment right from here and submit it right from here as well. And if she's happy with it, she could submit it. She could retake it if she's not. What happens next is actually up to you and how you design this assignment or challenge. You can automatically give Leah the points for getting the work done. You could also route the submission to a peer review or to someone for approval, like a facilitator or a manager, for instance. We've set up both so you can see them both today. So for instance, Leah does have access now to a peer review. This is a submission gallery where learners can see peers' work. Some of our customers will use it as just a way to showcase examples of things you could do while you're on our platform. They also use it a lot for peer reviews. This is a great way to facilitate peer-to-peer learning and enable learners to give each other feedback. You'll notice that Leah can watch Rebecca's video and not only give feedback, but see the feedback that's already been given to her. So Leah can learn from that feedback too. Darren, as a peer, provided some feedback. Mark is a manager and a mentor, providing expert level feedback. So Leah also benefits from seeing that as well. And that's just one way we can enable your learners to apply what they're learning. Now, in that example, Leah was learning as an individual, right? But she was also getting feedback and giving feedback. So it was a very interactive experience for her. In her next challenge, she's actually going to be participating in a team assignment. And what's different about our learning platform is we provide a dedicated workspace for every group and team. It's a safe place that only the team members have access to. And we've seen some great benefits from offering this. So when we look at the data, we've seen that there's on average 5 times more engagement when learners participate in teams versus when they learn in isolation. And we think there are a few reasons for that. For one thing, it's less intimidating. This is like being in an in-person workshop where you have a breakout activity and you go out and you sit around a small table with just a few of your peers. So you feel more inclined to participate. There's also the felt accountability I'm kind of alluding to here. You have a task you got to work on together. You have to complete a team assignment. So there are people counting on you, your peers. So this is another way we bring learners back into the NovoEd platform to engage and learn and, of course, complete their programs. And they could do a lot of different things in their workspaces. They can have conversations. They can give each other feedback from here. They can also share content with one another. So here's a PDF template that they set up as their template for the team charter assignment they're going to complete here. And they can also meet in real time. They can actually send out calendar invitations within our platform. And so Leah can, for example, RSVP to this meeting with their team to talk about their team assignment here in WebEx later. And these action items, they're all highlighted for your learners as well. So just another great way we can enable your learners to collaborate, not just learn from one another, but also get some practice at how they're going to be collaborating in the workplace as well. Now, you've seen a lot about the learner's experience, how learners can engage with a variety of different content. They can engage with one another and learn from one another as well. And they support each other in the learning too. Now, there's also support from people like mentors. But before we take a look at that, any questions about the learner experience?
Thank you so much, Juan, for walking us through all of that. I'm seeing some questions come in, so we'll take some time to address them now. If anyone in the audience has some questions, please send them our way. We would love to make this very interactive. So Juan, the first question that I'm seeing here is, how are groups formed?
Great question. So it's actually pretty flexible. You can form groups as a course designer or program designer in advance. Now, you can also enable your learners to form their own groups or teams. So it's a great way to have learners take initiative and form their own interest groups, for example, maybe as part of an onboarding experience. Or maybe it's part of an assignment, and before you actually participate in a team assignment, you got to form your team. And this is a great way to get your learners to engage with one another, connect, network, and build those relationships.
Great, thank you. And what are some typical assignment formats that you have seen in the platform?
Oh, sure. Well, we saw an example of a video assignment, very popular. We also have clients doing the peer reviews, like I showed you earlier. That is an assignment. You can award points for completing those peer reviews. You can even specify how many reviews do you have to complete. And it could be an informal review, like I showed you, where it's kind of like a discussion. But it can also be a more formal, structured review with an evaluation form that I'm actually happy to show you when we go into the mentor experience. We also have clients doing your standard assignments for things like submitting documents, worksheets. You can even specify the specific format the learner has to submit to complete the assignment.
Perfect, thank you. And then the last question that I'm seeing here right now is, how do users typically access this platform?
They typically access it from their favorite web browser on a desktop computer, but we've seen a huge increase in mobile device access, especially since we launched our mobile app just a little over a year ago.
Great, thank you. Oh, I am seeing actually one more question before we move on. Can you talk about, I guess, our LMS integration?
Oh, sure, yeah. So we have a lot of customers that will often integrate with an LMS and maybe do multiple integrations, but typically they want to integrate with a system of record. When learning is concerned, often the LMS is that system of record. And so we have a lot of customers that have automated enrollment from their LMS into NovoEd programs, as well as automated receiving data from NovoEd about things like completions and scores.
Great, thank you so much. Let's go ahead and move on to the next section. And if anyone has questions, please go ahead and send them our way. We will be stopping again shortly.
Sounds great. All right, so Leah has a mentor I mentioned earlier. It's her manager, Mark. Mark, when he logs into the NovoEd platform, he also has access to a tab on the home page here. But what he sees is a mentor dashboard. And so the key takeaway about the mentor dashboard is that it provides whoever's mentoring or coaching a quick and easy way to be able to see their learners' progress and provide them support that they need to help them complete the learning that they're going to be doing in these programs. So you'll notice, for example, that Mark has some alerts also being displayed here. He has 3 submissions from 2 different courses that need approval. So when he comes into a particular program or course's dashboard, he could see exactly who those people are that need his work, his outreach. For example, there are two individuals that need approval of work they've submitted. One of them is Leah. Mark can access Leah's work. Here's that video assignment she submitted a moment ago, and he could provide her feedback from here. Now, he could give her some really positive feedback and even check off a box so that everyone in the cohort can see this example, because maybe it was a private assignment, for example, not a public one. We support both. But he can also provide her constructive feedback. For example, maybe, well, I was rambling a little bit earlier, right? So maybe he's going to ask her to please include an agenda and re-record. Down here at the bottom, there's actually a button, not just to approve, but also to ask for a revision. So he could send it back to Leah, and Leah gets notified immediately about that. Now, that's an example of how we could provide some informal feedback as a mentor. There's also the ability to provide that more formal structured feedback that I mentioned earlier. So I mentioned there's an evaluation form that you can utilize. It is a configurable evaluation form, so you can actually build the criteria, for these evaluations as a designer, and you can also enable anyone you'd like in your program to access these and be an evaluator. So it could be a mentor like Mark. It may be a facilitator or instructor. It could also be a peer if you'd like it to be. We actually anonymize who the evaluator is to encourage direct feedback. And we keep this really simple and easy to do too. So you'll notice as an evaluator, Mark can see what was the assignment, what did we ask the learners to do, what did the learner submit, and then over here, he can access that evaluation criteria or rubric, where he can see things like sliders. He can use Likert scales, for example, to provide that feedback. He can provide numerical scores or grades. You can also access a feedback capture grid that we provide just to make it really easy to comment on what worked and what didn't on the learner, and then submit that. A real big takeaway about these formal evaluations, I would say, is that you get to collect the feedback exactly the way you want to. So if there are certain metrics you need to be able to see when you're evaluating your learners' progress, you can absolutely configure it that way. Now, that's a little bit of the mentor experience. Mark, any questions about that?
Thank you, Juan. How many, can one learner have multiple mentors, or are they only able to have one?
No, they can have as many mentors as you'd like to give them.
Perfect. And going back to the feedback that you were just showing, is that made public to everyone?
It can be if you configure the feedback to be delivered that way, but you can also set it up so only the learner gets the feedback.
Okay, great. I'm not seeing any other questions at the mentor part of this, so let's go on and move into the admin side, and then we will address questions a little bit later.
Sounds great. Now, I mentioned earlier that, as we go into the administrator's experience, we're going to be taking a look at analytics and authoring tools. Now, mentors do get access to some analytics. You'll notice that these learners are being put into different buckets based on what they need or how they're engaging with your learning program. So it's very easy for a mentor like Mark to see who's not logging in or who needs specific feedback from me, or he wants the ability to actually see the specific progress of a given learner, for example. Our analytics start right there, but they go so much deeper, especially as an administrator. So let me show you what that looks like. And we're going to look at the experience of Denise. She is the learning experience designer for this particular learning program. And she gets access to a lot of different analytics, actually. Now, we provide analytics at two different levels. We have them at the organization level, so you could see data across your programs and courses. You can even pull up a learner record and look at everything that learner did on the NovoEd platform, every single program and how they performed. Now, we also provide program or course level analytics. So that's what you're seeing on the screen right now. these are all out-of-the-box reports that we provide you. And they're really easy to engage with and get the information you need to see what kind of return on investment are you getting with your NovoEd program. So you can see, for example, who's been completing. You can also see specific metrics on things like performance data for assignments, and there's an area for quizzes as well. That would include your individual and team assignments. By the way, for any one of these course or program elements, you can drill down and see more specific data, like for an assignment, who started that assignment but hasn't submitted yet. This is data that you can also use for those targeted messages and emails that I mentioned earlier when we kicked off the demo. You can send very, very specific messages, so they're relevant for the learner. Now, we also make sure that in addition to tracking performance, you can also track engagement. So for example, we're looking at discussions here. Week to week, we can see how engaged are our learners. And we'll notice insights like week 2, for example, had a huge spike in engagement. So now you can actually look and see what was so effective, because we want to see that engagement level every week. And maybe it was great content or a great webinar. You can absolutely find out, so you can increase the effectiveness of your programs. Now, you can also check to see how effective is your content. So for instance, I mentioned that we track videos and report on those views. So you can actually drill down into any video you upload into the NovoEd platform and see data like who's watched it, who hasn't, how much have those learners watched on average. So 69%, that's decent. We provide you some even more granular data, like when people stop watching, when did that happen? Was it in the first 10 minutes, the next 10 minutes? You can actually see all that information. And that way you can make very educated decisions about your content and activities. So if you had much lower engagement with the video, you could change the video. You can make it shorter. Maybe it was too long, for example, and that's why people dropped off early, for example. We support video playlists, so we can absolutely enable you to do that. And if you don't see the data you need to see here, you can build your own report. So for example, we support custom reports. We call them data downloads. You can report not just on your learners, but on mentors, the teaching team, your teams and your groups. And that's a big differentiator about our platform, that you can report on more than just learners. All your constituents are being, we provide a lot of data on them, so you can find out what's working and what's not in terms of like facilitation. How much time are our facilitators spending in the learning program and providing guidance? You can also look at performance and engagement data in specific ways. So for example, maybe you might want to look to see if there's a correlation between the points that learners are earning on like assignments and quizzes, and see if, does that correlate with the type of feedback they're providing in things like peer reviews and helpful counts. Those are the upvotes or likes that you can give learners. And here you just save your new report and use it again and again, and utilize it for things like making improvements to the learning experience. So if you looked at a report, for example, and it showed you and made it very clear that people just didn't understand something that you were offering within the learning program, well, you can make changes. Now, you could do this when you're maybe cloning your course and you're preparing for your next term at your institution, or just for the next cohort at your organization, for example. And you can actually also do it while the program is even active. So you'll notice we can come in here as a designer, be able to access a menu where we can do things like access templates and build out things. We can add things like surveys, timed exams. We can even set up live events. I mentioned that we provide that integration with Zoom, for example. And it's simple. Templates, for example, are something that we provide. Real easy to be able to set up new content. Just point and click, drag and drop. It's a lot like setting up something like a report. And I can just maybe set up a new prompt for a discussion, for example, and ask my learners, like, what did you learn from the video they just watched, for example. And if I want to change what that looks like, super simple to edit it. As a designer, I don't need to know HTML or any other type of code. I could just point and click to change things like colors, where things sit on the page, and make simple updates like that. So that's a little bit of the admin experience, how you can track your learners, see what's working, what's not, make improvements, and be able to do it easily with really easy to access authoring tools. So happy to take any last questions about the admin experience or anything else.
Thank you so much, Juan. And thank you everyone for your great questions. Please continue to send them in. We'll just spend the last couple moments here to address any final questions. Juan, in your experience, how much effort do you think it typically takes to set up a course?
Oh, wow. It really depends on how many hours you're expecting from your learners to be able to complete it. So if it's like an 8-hour, maybe full day workshop, for example, and you're going to transition from doing that in person to doing it online. Perhaps you want to break that out over 4 weeks with a commitment of like 2 hours a week, for example. And we can help you set that up with professional services as well. It really could be as quick as maybe like 12 hours to set up a learning experience like that.
Wonderful, thank you. And are you able to white label this platform?
Yeah, you can actually specify your domain that you'd like to utilize for the URL, the web address here. So, it could be, this is a fictitious company here, NewCo. That's why you see newco.novoed.com. It could be your organization or institution here. And you can provide different domains for like different divisions, for example, within your organization as well. We also enable you to brand. You can have different branding for different programs and courses too. So for example, in higher education, a lot of our customers there are not only offering their own courses to adult learners, but they're also supporting corporate clients. So they really love that they can brand each individual program.
Wonderful, thank you. And I'm getting a question about content in regards to the authoring tools that you showed. Is content created in the authoring tools exportable at all?
Absolutely. So content can be downloaded. We have a content download feature. We also have a new archiving feature for making sure content can be archived, perhaps for compliance purposes. We've actually set that up for our bank clients, but others are utilizing it too.
Wonderful, thank you. The last question that I'm seeing right now is, are you able to release content within the course at different dates?
You sure can. You can even specify the minute you want it to come out.
Oh, wonderful. Thank you so much, Juan. And thank you everyone for really joining us today for this product tour. We've had such a great time being here with you and answering all of your questions. Just a few reminders before you head off. If you could please go ahead and fill out that exit survey, that will provide both of us with great feedback so we can continue to improve this program. And if you would like to learn more about NovoEd, would like to learn about our pricing or see a personalized demo, please just type yes in the chat box and we'll go ahead and follow up. And lastly, I do want to mention, I realized that many of you were talking about the need to transition leadership development online, and we are actually partnering with one of our customers, Cemex, to bring you a webinar in which they will kind of talk about how they created their leadership development program. So this upcoming webinar will be on Wednesday, June 24th at this same time, and it'll actually feature Brandon Hall's principal analyst, David Wentworth, as well as Cemex's head of leadership development. We'll delve into recent research on leadership development and really explore the purpose and impact of Cemex's transformative leadership development program. If that is of interest to you, you can go ahead and use the camera on your phone to actually scan this QR code here, and then a landing page to register for this webinar will pop up. Again, thank you so much, everyone, for your time. We really appreciate you being here with us today.